This is the Desert Shaman, aka Roger Thunder. Well, I said I was going to do a video about Tantra, and my last video was about the left hand path, or my next to the last. I did a short video on something I wanted to rant about. Can't even remember what it is now, um, but I did do a video on the left hand path as opposed to the right hand path. Well, that's essential to know if I'm going to talk about Tantra. What is Tantra? Well, I could sit here and I could go into the complete history and, the original, when they thought that maybe Tantra was originally developed or came into being or whatever, and that would be 3,000 years ago or more. Could have been 6,000 years ago. See, nobody really knows of the origins of certain metaphysical spiritual practices because they resurface later on, and then it's hard to determine where it originated from. So let's say Tantra Yoga could have originated thousands of years ago, even, back in the ancient Sumerian culture, or anywhere along the line in the Aryan culture in India, or there's just so much history that isn't known that you can't determine where this stuff comes from. So basically, when you practice it, if it works, then you understand why it's been around for thousands of years. Tantra Yoga, it was a big thing in the 60s, and in that area, the arena of free love, free sex, people started delving into other ways to have sex or to cultivate that energy or whatever. Problem is with that, a lot of times in the 60s, or just a lot of times in this modern day and age, Tantra Yoga is looked at as just like, oh, that's just a different sexual technique, or it's a different position. And they get into these lotus positions and they face each other and they straddle one another, and that's all well and good, but that's just a physical posture. That is not the spiritual end of it. That's not the metaphysical end, spiritual end, higher consciousness of it. Some people may have happened upon that because you did have psychedelics in the 60s also, and yes, you could feel energy, which is the important thing, pretty acutely, let's say. But Tantra, or Tantra Yoga, or Tantric sex is not just about sex. It's about energy. It's about the primal energy. It's about, when you learn about energy, sex, the word sex and the whole act that surrounds it, that people are familiar with, like in marriage or whatever. It's a difference of night and day if you know what you're doing on an energetic level, and just sitting there having sex. People call the energy they experience an orgasm. Well, it is. I mean, it is energy. It is. Problem is they don't think about it in the proper terms, as far as really understanding it. Nothing is. I'm not saying right or wrong or this or that. I mean, whatever. But if you want to learn about Tantra, you have to go to tantric masters and who have written books, and people like Daniel Odier, who I follow closely, writes about a whole different concept of the tantric thing and the left-hand path and that type of thing. So you can't talk about Tantra unless you talk about the Kundalini energy, which if you go back 3 videos or 4 videos or wherever that is, I have a series on consciousness raising and breathing and meditation and yoga and stuff like that. But you can't talk about Tantra unless you talk about the Kundalini, or the energy that goes up the spine, okay, that weaves its way, the serpent energy, the snake. Like on the caduceus of the Medical Association, they have the 2 snakes going up the sword. That's where that came from. That's been around for eons. The serpent energy, no, it's not bad. You know, everybody, as soon as they hear the word serpent, they flash back to their biblical training of the Garden of Eden, you know. I mean, get over it, you know. That was completely misconstrued. It was a complete phony story, turned around to the way the Hebrew scribes wanted it to be, okay, for their biblical narrative. The serpent energy is just a name because it coils. Okay, the energy coils is actually resting at the base of your spine, down in your 3rd chakra, which I talked about earlier in other videos. The base chakra is red and has the seed sound, yum. That's the mantra for it. So this serpent energy or this coiled energy is kind of dormant, and once you start doing exercises like breathing exercises, meditation, pranayama, prana meaning energy and yama meaning pranayama, breathing, which is a technique that I just taught about 3 videos ago. Now, will I expound on that? Well, yeah, I will. If you listen to me, you're liable to go into all kinds of, you're liable to go into the ozone and love it. So, in the practice of Tantra with a partner, I'm going to get more into the mechanics of it. When you practice that with a partner, okay, and let's say you get into a lotus position, and you're both completely nude, okay, no clothes, you get into a Tantra position, and you, how should I put this? Well, maybe I should talk about the lingam, okay, the Shiva lingam, which in Hindu terms, the Shiva lingam is the male member, right? The male member, and the yoni is the female member, okay? And this is the mudra for that, and this is the mudra for the lingam. The lingam, as we know, is the male member, and it's, you know, it is inserted into the yoni. These are Hindu terms, the female member, or the female opening. And when you do that, that's what people call is having sex. Okay, that's sex. Okay. But when you face each other and you arouse each other on an energy level, or you come into this act on an energy level, which is a sacred level, sacred and profane, by the way, as I've said before, are 2 sides of the same coin. Okay. There is no good and bad and all this stuff. It's energy. It's yin and yang, male and female. So when you go into this act of, let's say a typical technique is lotus position. The male's in a lotus position and the female is facing him with her legs wrapped around his back in almost a lotus position. Eyes are facing, you're looking at each other, and your lips are slightly parted and your tongue is available for the other person to touch. We're not talking about French kissing here. We're just talking about touching. I mean, you can do that too, whatever turns you on. But so as you face each other and you are practicing what I have taught 3 videos ago, which, as a recap, I will just say let's say you're doing abdominal breathing and you're facing each other and you got the tongue on the roof of your mouth, which completes a circulation of the microcosmic orbit, up your tailbone, over the crown of your head, and back down to your base chakra between the legs, okay? And you're doing this energetic exercise or prana exercise or chi exercise. You're circulating the chi. The crown chakra of your head has popped open. You have all the energy centers open. You're addressing the kundalini energy or the coiled energy. You're asking it to ascend, but by the practices that you're doing, so that it rises up or raises up and goes through the chakras and completes the circuit in the front of the body, going down the front of the body, like I said before, up the back, the Ida and Pingala channels of the spine, okay? Now, as you're doing this, that in itself is exhilarating. I mean, just learning how to control chi and learning how to store it in your navel chakra or vam, or the second chakra. Vam is the seed sound, vam. When you're storing it there, then you can use it as you're doing your abdominal breathing. You're storing energy in your dantian. You're raising it up the back. You're facing your partner. Now, let's say, is eroticism involved in this? Well, of course it is. Of course it is. You get erotic with one another. You get turned on with one another. Well, what does that do when you face each other and the man is turned on and the woman is turned on and the blood's pumping to all the right places? That's primal energy that you're feeling there. So just stop there for a minute and feel the primal energy. Just look at each other, do an eye gaze meditation, touch your tongues occasionally just to get that little shock effect, because you will get a kind of a charge. So what you're doing with Tantra is you're realizing the energy, you're realizing the primal energy. It's moving up your spine. You feel completely aroused, okay? And you're noticing that arousal is mainly down in the genital section. But then what you do with your breathing is you use that energy down there and you start circulating it. You start circulating it up the back to the crown chakra, down through the front. You start circulating it, and you're circulating it together. And she is the yin energy, and you are the yang energy. Let me describe the yin and yang energy for a minute. The yin energy is receptive, and the yang is penetrating. The yin energy is black and dark and cool, and the yang energy is, like I said, penetrating, hot, and, opposite effect here. So as you're coupling here or doing the Tantra with your partner, let's say I have a yogini partner and I'm doing it with her, I'm receiving her yin energy and she's receiving my yang energy. And then as we're doing the breathing and circulating the microcosmic orbit, we have yin and yang energy, each one of us within us. In other words, I have the goddess energy and the god energy within me. And the goddess is very seductive and very erotic. And as in her, she will have the male energy, the Shiva energy, and I have some of the Shakti, which is the feminine, which everybody has inside of him. And what's happening here is you're circulating it. With Tantra, you're breathing, you know all the yogic practices, you know what I just described. You're facing one another, and you're just watching the energy circulate. You're feeling the sexual energy. Of course you are. You're erotic. It's moving around, but see, it doesn't just stay localized. Okay, like if you're most married couples jump into bed and they do the thing and it's over and it's localized. It's not, you get the feeling in your whole body, but it's not like if you realize that you can use that energy to spread throughout your whole body and to spread up to your crown chakra. And guess what? You don't have just one little orgasm like that. It's just that's not what it is. Basically, what it amounts to is as this energy builds up, you have a massive all body, all mind, all breath, all spirit orgasm, okay? And the male may not even need to come to full fruition, if you get my drift. In other words, he can just keep that going. Now, normally in normal relationship, it's usually the feminine because of their structure. They can have several orgasms, keep going on and on and on, where the male just basically it amounts to one. But this changes because the male learns how not to have that final orgasm and whatever accompanies it. He learns to control that. Okay, he learns through the breathing, through spiritual breathing, taps more into his feminine energy almost, and can turn that orgasm around into a different kind of orgasm where he doesn't necessarily come to full fruition, if you get my drift again. He can circulate that energy around and around and around and around through his tongue out to her tongue, back through in, down, up. So the next thing you know, your body, is just glowing and it's vibrating, and all the energy is moving through there. And this could go on for hours, or a half a day, or whatever time period you choose to practice this. Usually, if you're incorporating it as, let's say, a meditation and a spiritual thing, hell, you could go on for at least an hour or two without ever being done. In other words, that energy is not expelled, it's actually amplified. Boom, boom, boom. It's like white water rafting over Niagara Falls, okay? And you're vibrating and you're glowing and you're feeling all this really good energy. Then what happens? Let's say you keep doing this. Well, when you do this, all your chakras open up. All your energy centers, again, on the body, the 7 energy centers on the crown chakra, and then the crown chakra opens up, boom, and you're connected to the Purusha, the higher self, or the Para-Atman, which is connected to the cosmic source, the divine emanation. And so that old saying where two are gathered together, it could be biblical or wherever, is true. there the spirit shall be. In other words, the power of two entities doing this act is stronger than, probably the one entity doing it. It probably is stronger. Now, having said that, I will say also that this can be done without a partner. This can be done with your inner female. If you're a male, it can be done with your inner female, just like she's sitting right there. Okay? It's just like her being right there if you know how to do the practice. Okay? And so you can do the practice as an individual with what we call inner alchemy, and you can use that feminine energy, that goddess energy. You can feel it just as sure as it's there, because it is. And the male energy, the Shiva and the Shakti energy, you can feel that within yourself. You don't even need what they call a mate. Now, once you get that down, though, let's say without a mate, within yourself, well, then what do you think's going to happen? Fireworks when you meet another person, or let's say the other person has trained in the same kind of techniques that I'm talking about here, that you definitely, as a shaman or as a tantric practitioner or as a yogi, wouldn't mind coming into contact with at all. It's not a big deal. It's just a reflection of your inner goddess when you meet somebody that kind of hooks up on that level. Now, when this happens, your consciousness raises. Why? Because of what I just said, the Purusha and the Paraatman and the higher self. You're all one. You all realize you're one. You realize the yin and yang within yourself, the male, female, and with your partner and with the cosmos, because the cosmos is that same thing. So what happens? You start going, ooh, ooh, ooh. You start vibrating and getting higher and higher and almost dimensional. Okay? That's what raising your consciousness in Tantra is about. And I've said before that Tantra is not just the sexual thing. It is a viewpoint on the world. It's a viewpoint, especially if you're practicing the left-hand path. It's a viewpoint of no fear and no guilt and no installed dogmatic religious belief systems. And this is a way to cleanse that too. This is a way to feel good about that. Actually, Tantra is a very healing practice as far as just the sexual part even. That has healing benefits beyond your wildest imagination. Just the benefits of that energy flowing through you and you practicing this daily, cultivating it. Thinking about long-term fulfillment and higher fulfillment and a higher consciousness, as opposed to just a momentary flash in the pan of sex in bed with your mate. This improves everything because it improves your communication. You have to be on the same wavelength. You have to be on the same level. And with this, with the enlightenment, comes the understanding of all the bullshit of the world and how you can't get hung up in games and ego and all other kinds of ridiculousness. Okay. This is a healing force for all kinds of things. So I thought I would talk a little bit about a lot of these, what I call confused people out there. And you can take this as just my opinion. This is not an official tantric teaching, okay? So, what do we have out in the world today as far as sexual identity going on? What do we have? We have confusion. We have mass confusion and sickness in regards to what's going on out there with the sexual identity. The LBGTQ, whatever it is. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be judgmental at all. I'm just going to name some things, or I'm going to present some facts. What did I just talk about? The feminine energy being within you and the masculine energy being within you. And if you're a male, you have both, the feminine and the masculine, with predominant masculine, most likely, because of just the physical form you're in. With the woman, it's going to be the same way. It's going to be both energies, okay? So you got these people that say things like, quote unquote, a woman trapped in a man's body, or how about a man trapped in a woman's body? Trapped, mind you. Trapped. That is absurdity. That is absurdity, because what it is none other than that person feeling their feminine goddess energy a whole lot. If it's a guy, it's like, well, maybe that energy, that yin energy, is predominant, okay? He's in a male body and he knows he's a man, but he feels that when you go to the higher level of consciousness, you realize what these energies are all about. You don't freak out and go, oh my God, I'm a woman in a man's body, or vice versa. You look at the energy of it. You look at the whole thing, and you can actually adjust those energies. Okay? You can make one more predominant or one less dominant. The female can become dominant, or the male can become dominant. It's not about having to be a transvestite or having to have a sex change operation or any of that stuff, when you realize the Creator has a master plan, and that master plan is, if you're born in this body, that's who you are as an individual, okay? Your sexual preference has nothing to do with who you are as an individual. Okay. And a lot of people think that it does. They think that they identify too much with the energy. I guess basically that's what I'm trying to say. The energy that they're feeling, they identify too much with it and freak out and think that they should be in a different body or a different physical form. So this tantric exercise, when you realize the gist of what's going on with energy, you realize that there is no, set rules. It's all energy, and you're in a body. It's all energy, and you're in a body, and you can either feel the feminine or the masculine. It's that simple. It's that simple. You can feel the feminine just as much as your partner. In fact, when you're having tantric sex, if I'm with a female, we're actually, basically, we're going back and forth into each other's bodies. Try that one on for size. We're actually spirits going back and forth, realizing our oneness with the universe. It's a beautiful thing. It's nothing like it. You're realizing that person is you. Shiva, she will say to you, or you will say Shakti, but then she might say Shakti or Shiva. In other words, the energy's flowing back and forth so much that you're both people. You're both Shiva and Shakti, because Shiva is the divine masculine principle in Shakti is the feminine principle that comes out or is a consort with or is a part of Shiva. It's a beautiful thing, the Shiva Shakti thing. Okay, Shaivism, or, the concept of setting Shiva as your deity, Shaivism, or Shivaism, however you want to pronounce it, is part of the practice of Tantra, really. I mean, it's part of the practice because it's all about the energy, the Shiva Shakti energy. And Shiva has all kinds of goddesses within him, Shaktis, okay, that come out, divas, whatever you want to call them. There's Tara, and there's Sundari, and there's Kali, okay? There's all kinds of goddesses that come from that Shakti energy. And each one has different traits, different expressions, different energies, and does different things in the universe, okay? So this gets into a whole array of deities and godheads and goddesses and that type of thing, if you want to go that far. But it's kind of good to go that far because then you understand the spiritual aspect of it. Okay, you understand the spiritual aspect of these people, these Hindu masters and yogis and lineages and all that weren't born yesterday. They knew all kinds of things about how to shape shift, how to create another identical body of yourself and have it walk around. They knew all kinds of things. These are the people that invented what I'm talking about here. So this is a healthful, beneficial technique, okay? It can straighten out your confusion on gender identity. It can bring you and your mate closer together to where you're becoming one another, you're becoming one another's energy, and you're raising your consciousness, and you're connecting with the divine emanation, the supreme emanation. What's not to like here, people? What is not to like? This puts a whole different dimension on your life, period. Because when you're that happy in your relationship, or say you're that happy alone, you're in a constant state of ecstasy because you can run this energy anytime, and you can have the other kind of orgasm, which is a full body, full mind, full-blown feeling that has nothing to do with just a localized event between your legs, okay? What's not to like about that? Hello? So, I know I have my own special way of presenting stuff, don't I? It's okay because this is more in I could sit up here like a professor, or I could talk in yogi talk, which I could do easily, but I'd rather be able to get through to people out there and try to explain it in layman's terms, off of individual experience, off of my own experience, and off of what I'm experiencing in life. So I would rather present it that way than be way over somebody's head so they don't understand. I mean, the stuff I'm talking about already could be over a lot of people's head. I mean, when I talk about prana and chi and life force and yogic energy and, the Purusha and the Paraatma, it's almost like you need a glossary, just to watch my video. I can't sit around and explain everything, so you might have to look some things up. Okay, well, geez, I think I've just about covered all I need to cover. Except I could go on for hours and hours, and I might do another one on just the what the viewpoint of the Tantra practitioner is in regards to the world and how the Tantra practice affects everything that he or she does, okay, and their outlook on life and just the whole thing. So I could go on and on about that. But right now, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about my books a little bit. I got 3 books out, and the first book is an award-winning book, Listen to the Wind, Speak from the Heart, which is just a basic primer on spirituality, and it's not a fictionalized book by any means. It's a handbook of spirituality. It won an award, so I'm considered an award-winning author. It won the cover award for shamanism and magic and I can't remember everything, but it did win an award for that. And then I got another book, Emergence, which is about twin souls. Actually, it's kind of like fact-based fiction of my own life with some creative license in there. And but why I did that is because I presented it as a shaman's Bible or a way to learn shamanistic techniques, including this technique that I'm talking about now. That's this book, Emergence, is a fictionalized fact or fact fictionalized or whatever. It's a combination of both things. Has a male and female component to it where they meet and they're what people might call twin souls or whatever, and they go on a journey of discovery and they realize that they were incarnated to be with one another and that they actually were one another before they came down into their mother's womb. And it gets real interesting. And I go through all kinds of things about shamanistic techniques and spirituality and martial arts. And I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff in the book. So that might be a book that you might want to check out. Although I must say I'm in the process of rewriting it, re-editing it. So might want to wait on that one for about another week. You'll get the new revised edition. But you can let me go here. You can go here to spiritofcrazyhorse.com. See that up here, spiritofcrazyhorse.com. That's what it is. Or you can go to the show notes below and there's a link in there. Go here and you'll see my books. You'll see Emergence. And now you can get the unrevised edition still, on Amazon, but this is a picture of that book, Emergence. And then here is Listen to the Wind, Speak from the Heart, the award-winning book. Incidentally, this cover was done by a Sedona artist. Pretty neat cover. Now, what you'll want to do if you want to get a PDF, not an actual hard copy, if you want to get a PDF copy of Listen to the Wind, and in about 2 weeks you can get this copy, but for now it's Listen to the Wind, Speak from the Heart. If you donate $10 or more, I'll mail you the book through your email, which I'll get when you do this. You'll have an instant copy of it. So that's about my books, okay? That's about my books. And I'm kind of shopping around for Emergence to be a full-length independent motion picture. That's always been a goal. We'll see what happens. Stuff pops up at any given time, and you just got to take advantage of it. So I think I'll leave it there today. This video was quite long and I went on, but I will go on some more about this. You want to learn stuff that you thought you'd never learn in this life? Well, I have to pass this on to somebody before I kick the frame or do whatever I'm going to do here. That could come down the road, or I could decide to go to the Pleiades or the star systems as I choose. That's where I'm from originally, anyway. So, anyway, I'll leave it there today, and until the next video, adios.